Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Well, welcome back, everybody. He brings so much insight to parents, to people looking to get into his field. And I have to say it's an important one with everything going on these days. He's a school psychologist, has spent many years doing that in California. And we got a lot to talk about today. A lot of listener emails at instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. And some more insight as well. He's also got a book to share, which, well, was parenting younger kids. There was nobody suggested books to me. So I'm grateful to have him on here. Good Advice Helps with Dr. Allan Gold. How are you doing today?
Okay, thank you. How are you?
Very well, very well. Lots to dig into today. We're going to do, Let's start with a feature we call What's Really Going On Here? And I'll give you a hypothetical situation, which could very well be a real situation. And let's dissect that. Look at that through the eyes of a psychologist and tell us what you think is going on. You all set?
Sure.
Okay. This is Olivia. She's a 15-year-old honor student who constantly gets high grades, but lately her parents and teachers have noticed she's putting extreme pressure on herself, spends hours on homework every night, gets very upset if she scores anything less than an A. She recently got a 95 on a test and cried, saying that she messed everything up. She often asks teachers if she can redo assignments, even when she already got a high grade, and sometimes rewrites the entire pages of notes, saying they are not perfect. And she recently told her parents that if she doesn't get into a top college, her future would be ruined. What do you think is really going on here?
Well, I can certainly relate to that because I wasn't all that different as a kid myself. And actually I can relate to it very well because I worked in a very high socioeconomic school district. And there was a tremendous amount of pressure on kids to be perfect. And I used to work with kids on this a lot. When they were younger, we used to talk about Mr. or Miss Perfect, that sense of yourself in your head, that you're no good unless you're perfect. The question is, where does that derive from? Is it from peer pressure, which I usually don't think it is, frankly. I think it's from family pressure. If you have parents that are very wealthy or very skilled or very professional successes, it's not so hard for that to be transferred to children. It also depends on how they are raised as young children. If every time they make a mistake, they're criticized, then they really resent that. And they don't want to be criticized, but they internalize that criticism like, I'm not good enough, and my goal is to be perfect so that I'm never criticized again. And it's, there can be numbers of sources of that, but usually it's when the role models that they have as young people are very successful, when parents don't admit when they've made a mistake. They only talk about their high accomplishments. It may be because they have siblings that are equally pressured to, perform very well. So there could be a number of reasons, but it really has to be addressed because kids can get even suicidal, and I hate to say that. I'm never going to do this. Like this young teenager who, what's she going to do if she doesn't get into Harvard or Yale or Stanford or something like that? And so she could get very depressed. Kids can absolutely get depressed. I would say that social networking can also contribute to this. If the people that she has contact with are getting better grades than she is, or getting 100 and she gets a 95. She's comparing. The fact that, we always, it's American at least, if not human, to compare up. There's always somebody who's more proficient at whatever skill it is, whether it's acting or dancing or singing or math or writing or athletics or whatever it happens to be. There's always somebody that's going to be better than we are. So it really demands very serious learning to modulate that kind of pressure that we put on ourselves. I used to talk to kids, as I said, about those internal voices. So Mr. or Miss Perfect would be saying, you're just not good enough unless you don't make any mistakes at all. And I would have them, even, younger kids, draw pictures of what Mr. or Miss Perfect would look like. And then I would try to help them create another character, another internal character that would be a little more balanced, like Mr. or Mrs. You're a hard worker, or Mr. or Miss You can do it if you really try, or you can get better at something, those kind of things. But it's very important for young people, particularly teenagers with this kind of self-pressure, to realize this is how we learn. Every human being makes a mistake and doesn't do perfect. The fact that she actually wants to retake a test if she doesn't do as well, I'm not against that, frankly. I think, good education would give kids more than one chance to demonstrate what they've learned. And if they need to learn more, I think they should have another chance to take a test if they didn't do sufficiently well. So I don't think that's such a bad idea. And the fact that she wants to learn what she hadn't gotten correct, I think that's admirable, frankly. But if what she needs to do is realize that that's part of being a human. We don't always understand everything all the time, and it takes effort to learn. And this is life. Everybody makes mistakes in life, and even if we don't, and most of the time we don't intend to. We want to do the right thing, but we also have the opportunity to correct those mistakes or to learn from the mistakes. That's what's so important. And who knows what message her parents are giving her, or how they role model,
Sure.
If they make a mistake and come home from work saying, "Oh God, I was so stupid today," that's not a very good role model.
And like you said, it could go both ways. Either they come home and say, "Oh, I can't believe I made that mistake. Oh, I am such a loser. Oh my gosh." That one thing, or the other, where all they do is everything's great. They only report the good stuff. The
good stuff.
Right.
Oh, I had such a great day at work. I was amazing. And so if that's the role model as well, then the kid, well, God, I got to be amazing too.
Right. Right. You bring back memories for me. I wasn't that student in school, but I loved drawing cartoons, and people got to know me for it. And honestly, Allan, as I look back at all of this, and this is only in the last couple of months, I started processing this. Drawing was my therapy.
Yes.
I had been bullied. My parents got divorced when I was very young. I realized, I'm not even kidding, in the last couple of months, it's like, oh, that was therapeutic. When you were, in the basement and you were drawing and you were just doing your thing, that was a way of maybe escapism, but I was a perfectionist and I wouldn't draw for my own enjoyment. Now that I look back at it, I was drawing to get approval from others. If I would have, and nobody ever said anything. Well, that looks horrible. What are you thinking? Never. And of course, there were crumpled up paper and boards, like tons of them in the garbage can. But I was looking for approval, to say, hey, I did this. Here you go, check it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to get that approval, and I would do anything to get it. and that included, killing 5 trees in the process of it. But yeah.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because my mother was an artist, and I used to
Oh, wow.
like to draw when I was in elementary school. I didn't do it in high school or college or anything. And, I was a perfectionist too. And I was thinking, if I can't be Monet or Picasso, I don't want to take an art class. When I was in my third year of um, graduate school in school psychology, I was turning 30. And I was thinking, maybe I should take an art class. I didn't want to take an art class through the university. I didn't want to get a grade. But at Berkeley, where I was at school, there was this monthly little newspaper called Open Education Exchange, and they would advertise um, all sorts of private classes in a whole, a wide range of content. And I found this art class in 1976, and it was offered 6 sessions, 6 2-hour sessions at this art teacher's home for 6 weeks for $25. And I said, okay, I'll give it a try. Well, I'm still going there. It's 50 years.
Are you serious?
I'm absolutely serious.
Wow.
My art teacher is 96 years old, and she's a wonderful, wonderful role model for aging. And in fact, our class just had our 6 students just is right now having an art show. And, people were really admiring my work and everybody else's work. And, I wasn't perfect, and I can see what I started out doing and how I've improved over the years. And just like you said, it was for me when I would go after work in the evening, it worked the other side of my brain. I'd spend, all day working with kids and trying to figure them out, and then I would exercise a whole different side. But I was able to accept the fact, I'm not going to be perfect. And I still accept constructive suggestions from my art teacher
Wow.
when I'm doing a painting, and and it helps. So,
As you're talking, even before you started to say that, I had a flash in my mind, and it's almost like you're reading it, that my mom got me art lessons with a local artist, and he did a bunch of different things, but he gravitated towards something called sumi, where it was Japanese brush strokes. Now I'm a kid. I don't know, maybe I was 10, 11, whatever. I just wanted to draw cartoons. So, I went, it was okay. He was a nice man and all of that. When I look back on it now, I should have appreciated it because I didn't realize as a kid, I was probably getting little pieces of information in terms of art, composition, layout, and all of that. I didn't see it that way. I just wanted to draw cartoons. But now I look back and I said, thanks, Mom.
Well, kids don't always understand what they're gaining from trying something new. And another serious point about the email or the letter that teenager wrote is that if you have such a feeling of perfectionism, you won't try anything new.
True.
And so it took me till I was 30 years old to say, come on, give it a try. You don't have to be Picasso, you don't have to be Monet, but just, see if it's fun.
That's a great point.
When kids are young, if they are perfectionists, they won't try and they won't take the risk of whether it's playing a musical instrument or acting or singing or drama or whatever or learning a new subject and learning a new language. Unless I'm absolutely perfect, I don't want to try this.
Right.
So, or a new sport or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah. Or you're saying to yourself, I'm not going to try that because I need to get this right. So you keep doing this, but then you don't grow and expand.
You don't grow. You don't get out of your comfort zone.
We have emails. Let's go to one from Lindsay from Tampa. Checks in at instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. She says, my daughter's very bright, but struggles with reading. Could this be dyslexia? And how would a school psychologist help identify it?
Absolutely, it could be dyslexia. She didn't say how old the child is, but
Mm.
if that's one of the criteria for identifying a kid with special needs, with a learning disability. So, because what the school psychologist will do will test the child's IQ and will also test the child's academic levels. And if there's a big discrepancy, usually 1.5 standard deviations in numerical and statistical language, that means that there is a potential learning disability there. And then the school psychologist will also test the processing skills that are required in both the visual and the verbal or auditory processing that's necessary for reading, for decoding, because you need the auditory skills of hearing different sounds and associating sounds with letters and with words, and then the visual memory where you recognize a sight word. Um, so there could be both visual and or auditory brain, let's say, slower development. Doesn't mean it can't be corrected, because I've seen plenty of kids with learning disabilities improve in their reading. Um, so yes, and particularly if the kid is bright and can say understand and interpret books read to them. But of course, maybe there's the auditory memory and they can't, so it all depends. But
Mm.
yes, that's one of the main jobs of a school psychologist is to identify kids with dyslexia, reading disabilities,
Gotcha.
and
Mm.
mathematical disabilities as well.
I had no idea. Emily checks in from Raleigh and says, I'm a psychology major in college. What steps should I take if I want to become a school psychologist?
Okay. Well, there are certainly graduate programs all over the country for teaching school psychology, but I would suggest that um, she exposes herself to kids to see if that's what she wants to do. Now, they could be teenagers as well, which
Mm.
she's not too far away from. But what would she like working in a school district? What's her history of her own experience as an elementary, middle, or high school student? Did she was it a good enough experience that she would like to translate that her own experience for other kids? Or maybe she had a bad experience and wants to help kids who are not succeeding to succeed. But I think if she had some experience just working with kids, whether it's babysitting, summer camp counseling, you don't have to do this, but so, like one of my former students is working with kids after school. They're kindergarten to fifth graders, and she loves working with the kids, and she's really found out that's something that she really enjoys. So I think she also needs to this young woman needs to look at her own personality. Um, is she does she like to solve problems? Is she social? Does
Mm.
she, like I mentioned already, if she likes kids? Um, does she have some mathematical skills? Because as a school psychologist, you also need to score tests and realize that the school psychology career really, I always looked at it as kind of a Renaissance. I looked at myself as a Renaissance man because I had a lot of different um, requirements and um, occupations that I did during the day. And, so, and is she, psychologically flexible, or does she have to have everything exactly the way she wants it to be? I mean, the fact that she's majoring in psychology, hopefully she's taken developmental psychology courses, so she has an understanding of how children develop. But I think what's important is that, for the job itself, it's important that you like working cooperatively with people, that you are social, whether it's with kids or adults, that you like working with kids, you have a good sense of humor.
Mm.
So there's a lot of personal qualities that I think make the difference between an effective school psychologist, particularly one who likes the job.
Well,
You know,
that's it.
you
The one thing that's coming up for me here is you got to identify if you're cut out to work with kids. She's majoring in psychology in college. Maybe she'll get to a school, maybe just they're trying it out. I don't know if internships are available, but even just to be in that environment and to see if she feels comfortable with it. I don't want to run out of time, but want to do golden tools that you can use tonight. And these are tips from you, Dr. Allan Gold, with ways to connect with your kids or teens.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think I've said it before, but I really want to emphasize how important communication is. Starting from when kids are very, very young. How do you communicate with them to correct them, to respect them, to praise them, to compliment them, so that they trust you? And when you have a criticism or a correction, they can accept it. Um, like we said earlier with the perfectionist, if everything is you got to be perfect,
Yep.
that's not good communication. It's interesting what does respect mean for a young kid? You have to acknowledge their feelings. To be able to communicate feelings is so important. Um, and you want kids to be able to do that. And for parents to be good role models to do that is very, very important. About 10 years ago, I found this book. Um, I was in a bookstore up in Ashland, Oregon, actually, and I just saw this. And it's called "I Listened to My Parents If They'd Just Shut Up."
That's awesome.
And ways to what to say and not say, parenting teenagers. Because parenting teenagers is one of the most challenging aspects of parenting.
Mm.
And this book gives a lot of suggestions about when parents should talk, when they should not talk, how they should talk to their kids, whether it's about homework or video games or drinking or sex or whatever it happens to be that is a topic of concern. And it's I think parents have to realize it's not easy to do that. And then the communication between parents and between each other is absolutely critical. Kids, I've said it before, kids are very, very observant, and they can pit one parent against the other. They know the one who is more lenient and more strict, and if they want something. So it's so important for parents to be able to communicate with themselves about how to deal with situations that arise from their children.
Mm.
Are they going to give the same? If it's serious enough, you catch your teenager smoking dope. How are you going to respond to that? If one parent says, "Oh, well, let him or her try," and the other says, "No, that kid's going to be isolated for the next month, except for going to school," then you've got a whole different approach to these things. So, and it's so important, actually. I think I've recommended it before. That's why family counseling or parental counseling is so important so that they can anticipate these situations that may come up and then figure out how to deal with them before they're faced with them, as a surprise. Um, so,
Mm.
so communication with each other, communication with children, um, all through life is absolutely important.
Just the title of that book alone, Alan, is a pearl of wisdom.
Yeah,
Right there.
yeah.
That's so good. Thank you for today. We covered a lot, and
We did.
a lot of relatable things too, and a lot of different things coming up, from perfectionism, roles of school psychologists for Emily, and anxiety too, along the way. Anytime you have a question, we're here, instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. And Allan, I appreciate it. I'm still chuckling at that book. The title is so spot on.
It's good to read. And you have teenagers, don't you?
Yes, I have 2 of them. Yep. Actually, as of tomorrow, I'll only have one because he turns 20.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thanks. All right. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
Still
Okay?
doesn't mean you're not a parent.
Oh, absolutely not. And doesn't mean he's still not a kid, at least in my eyes.
Right.
Occasionally,
Exactly.
you look at them, you still see the young in them, but then you see these adults at the same time. It's kind of weird. All right. We'll talk next week. Okay.
Okay. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thank you.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing bottom line. Treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives and the Ad Council.